What is up, you guys? Coming at you again with another video. Today we're going to be reading more Reddit ghost stories. Now before I start the video, if you do have any ghost stories of your own, leave them in the comments below and I'll make sure to read them and try to put them in the next video. Now let's not waste any more time and get right into it. Now this first one's called "Something Was Imitating My Parents When I Was Alone," posted by Powerful Ad 3725. I don't usually talk about this, but I feel like this community might understand. Around 2 years ago, I lived in an apartment that fell off. Same. I was 16, often home alone after school. That's when I started hearing it, a voice calling me from the kitchen or the laundry room. It sounded exactly like my father or mother. It always asked for help, told me to come over, but I knew they weren't home. The voice never imitated anyone else. I think that's because I don't have any extended family. It's always been just me, my mom, and my dad. That's all it knew. That's all it needed to mimic. My dog was terrified. She refused to enter the kitchen. Even though her food and water were there, she would often shake, frozen in fear, until my parents came back home. That's weird. Why is it when the parents came back home? It may have been more than just the spirit, honestly, because I know when demons try possessing somebody, they have to elicit fear. They have to make somebody fear. So if it's just you, I mean, you're a kid at that point. Things scare you a lot easier. You know, if your parents are there, you get that ease, that comfort. But if you're home alone, you're easier to manipulate. So I think just because the parents are home, it wasn't as easy to scare the kid, you know. But Jesus Christ, like it's a demon. Or I mean, I'm fucking kind of calling it too quick, you know. It might not even be a demon, but still, that's kind of what the vibe I'm getting from this. The day before we moved out, my father found long, dirty white hairs in my bedroom. The bathroom smelled like sewage. No matter how much we clean, he still says that the apartment felt wrong. Dude, the bad thing about apartments is your downstairs neighbor or upstairs neighbor could just be pigs. You could clean your apartment all you want. Your apartment could still smell. Like somebody could cook something like 2 apartments down and it's going to smell because of the vents, the HVAC, the HVAC is all connected. So it doesn't matter. I mean, it's sewage, but also sewage backs up. So you could clean your apartment. You could unclog all you want. But if there's a clog further down or something, that smell's still going to linger. I mean, it could have just been the apartments being apartments. Sorry I went on a tangent there. They also did mention that there was a dirty white hair found in one of the bedrooms, which is really odd. I never really heard of a spirit or anything leaving like physical evidence behind. So I think that's pretty odd, or may have been. Hair lingers. Hair can stay in a place for a really long time, you know. It could have been from a previous tenant, who knows, or maybe shit, one of them like weird ass like squatters that live in your fucking roof. Let's see where this story goes. I'm 18 now, almost 19. I still don't know what that thing was, only that it wasn't human and that it wanted me to trust it. Thanks for reading. Sorry if my English isn't perfect. Your English wasn't too bad, honestly. I'm not a native speaker, however, I will be willing to answer questions in the chat. Yeah, let's look at some comments to see what we got here. One of them is, man, I'm sorry, this is one of those actually type of comments. It's auditory hallucination, nothing to worry about. But unless it happens often, then you should see a doctor because it can indicate bad health. May even be a tumor, so faster you can detect it and more chance of living. Come on, like I get it, you know, there's those it's like the scientific, you know, but come on, dude. Like, we're on Reddit. We're on r/ghost stories. Do take the actually somewhere else. But I mean, I'm sound like a dick, but the guy has a point, you know. But this does happen pretty often. My wife actually has told me numerous stories of when she was a little kid, her and her sister would hear shit like that. And they would go to each other like, "Hey, did you call me?" They're like, "No." Her parents would say the same thing. They just lived in this really old house, and they have a whole bunch of stories about that. But that's besides the point. There have been other cases of similar things to this. I mean, I'm sure you've known somebody that has had like an occurrence like this, so it's not too far fetched. Let's see what else we can see here. Just move out, bro, if you have enough money. But if you don't have enough money, just try saving it and try to buy an apartment that isn't haunted. I recommend you ask before purchasing. I mean, at the end of the story, they moved out. That they were saying that they moved out. But I mean, it's hard to like move out and break your lease when you're like, oh, what's the reason for breaking a lease? The apartment is haunted. Like, who the fuck? That's what I don't understand about movies either. How like it's a haunted movie and they're like, we need to move out of here. Like, you just got into the house like maybe 2 months ago, and now there's a fucking ghost. How are you especially if you bought the house? Like, how do you manage that? I don't know. This is kind of making me ask a bunch of different questions that probably don't pertain to this. So let's move on to the next story. This next one's titled "My Experience in a Graveyard." Ooh, that should be interesting. The person deleted their account, so I'm not sure what happened there. A couple of years ago, I was exploring a very old graveyard in the woods near my house. Some of the oldest stones I could read dated back to the early 1800s. Damn, that's really old. Some were so weathered and worn that I couldn't make them out. I live in a rural place, so this graveyard is located in a popular hiking spot with locals. I saw one old tombstone that I couldn't read, so I kneeled down to try to make out the letters when I heard a man talking right behind me. I instantly looked back and saw no one. I stood up and the voice stopped. I stood quietly for a minute to see if there were any nearby hikers talking. That's likely. I listened and I am absolutely sure that I was alone. I wasn't afraid because the voice didn't sound aggressive. I mean, you're kind of in the middle of nowhere though, on a hiking trail. It's still kind of something to be afraid of. But just sounded like somebody. The voice didn't sound aggressive, but just sounded like someone trying to start a casual conversation. It was a distinctive Kentucky accent. I was a little weirded out because I could not place where the voice was coming from. I really started to suspect a ghost when I looked at my phone and my battery was at about 35%. I had just pulled it off the charger before I left home and it was at 100%. I hadn't used it much at all. It had only been gone an hour. Damn, that's crazy. So you could have just been standing there for about like, damn, even then an hour. That really doesn't make sense. So I've heard when ghosts or spirits are in the area, they like to drain batteries from equipment or random devices to, I guess, feel themselves, to let their presence be known, whether it be actually appearing, dropping something, throwing something, producing a voice in this case. Alright, let's move on to the next one. This next one's called First Responder Experience by Tactical Carrots RDT. Wow, this one should be really interesting. Hopefully it is. Hi all, I wanted to share my experience with something I encountered a couple years ago. I am very much skeptical and I live for facts and evidence as my career suggests. I'm still searching for answers for my experience I dream about repeatedly, and I'm still none the wiser about what I saw and felt. Late 2023, I attended an RTC road traffic collision on a night shift. I won't go into too many details in order to preserve my own identity and the patient's, but it was near fatal. A heavy goods vehicle, truck for our non-UK friends, collided with 9 people at high speed, pinning many of them into a building and then backing up, releasing them to the floor. That's fucking brutal, dude. Holy shit. I wanted to be a paramedic back when I was in like college, but I never went through with it. I heard so many fucked up stories on YouTube through secondhand accounts. They see some shit, man. Nothing but respect for those people. I attended the scene, arriving first to a bloodbath, limbs missing, and people with horrific injuries. 10-second triage states to, well, do that. I'm not really sure what he's trying to say right there. I did and found myself a patient which I believe to have the most life-threatening injuries. Some which included cat bleeds from one arm, one leg, bilateral femur breaks. I'm so sorry, I don't know medical terms, so I'm probably going to be butchering some of this. One closed, one open, collapsed lung to the right side along with a serious crush injury to the torso. That just doesn't sound good, whether or not you know medical terms. Bradycardia and quickly dipping into CA, cardiac arrest I'm assuming. Open fracture to the left ankle, and naturally in and out of consciousness. I'd be here a while if I was to list every single injury. That person was in terrible shape, and I'm so sorry I probably butchered this last fucking paragraph. I just could not get a hold of what any of this was, but it just sounds terrible. This young man suffered horrific injuries. I began my treatment on him. While doing so, I kept finding myself looking up and over to the right of me. I could see a black figure standing there, almost transparent but foggy black. Naturally, I looked away and continued my treatment to the best of my ability and scope. I kept drawing back to look. Obviously, being a skeptic, I referenced past it by looking at colleagues standing within 5 meters of me. I could see them clearly. Looking back at the figure standing there, I couldn't make sense of it. I tried to ignore its presence since this man's life was in my hands. I must have looked at it 5 to 6 times, still standing there, not moving. Damn, this is actually a really good story so far. Holy shit. My mind became clouded and my judgment was off. Then I noticed new injuries popping up. His condition deteriorating rapidly. I honestly felt like this presence was fighting against me. I'd solved one issue to be met with another one. Either the same issue or a worsening one. That must be nerve-wracking. Holy shit. It just stood there, watching me. I could feel its gaze burning into the side of me. Now, before this call, it had been a relatively busy night. I was sharp as a tack, fully eaten, hydrated, slept great the day before. I was in great mental condition. I had no serious worries on my mind, I was in an optimal mental state to be dealing with that scene. As much as a human can be, I guess. I had seen far worse injuries and even more horrific things. Dude, I don't know how more horrific it can get. That's pretty. I mean, there's people like in car wrecks and there's just a skid mark on the ground, so I guess there's that, but Jesus. So I couldn't bring myself to think this was a tipping point for me. You never know, honestly. Some things I have thought about and debunked. Bad lighting, it was a well-lit street and I could see everything else clearly. Also, I have perfect vision. I don't wear any contacts or glasses. Eye blur? Nope. Looking around, the figure was fixed in position from one point. If it was an eye blur, it would have followed around as I looked. Imagination? Doubtful. I'm a relatively boring person. I rarely watch scary movies, play scary games, or anything that my mind could reference and build upon to trick my eyes. Stress? I've dealt with worse in my career, and it was the last night shift before I actually went on a vacation, so I was in a great mood. Extra injuries popping up and clouded my mind. Could be a coincidence, however, I'm super meticulous. Triage, check, and check again. Then keep checking. A patient's life depends on it. So keep looking and predict what could happen. Plan A, B, and C. I can't shake the feeling it was fighting against me. Was it his time and I was standing in the way of it? I don't know. Grim Reaper, Angel, who knows? If it's an angel, they need to change their outfit because it creeped me out and it still does when I think about it. Bro, it's called Aura, you know, the opium. They listen to Playboy Cardi and Cars. Destroy Lonely. Like, we get it, man. We see the fit, bro. You don't have to just stand there and mog me, you know. Just kidding. Since that call, I've attended thousands of other calls. I have never seen it again. Although since then, I haven't seen anything as bad injury-wise. Maybe next time I'll say hi to it. No one died that night. That's pretty good, man. You did your job right. If no one died, you did your job well. Good job. Shocking, I know, considering the injuries would typically warrant a death certificate. I'm proud of myself and my colleagues, as you should be. But I'm just haunted by that figure. Anyone else had a similar experience or shed some light on what I was up against? Dude, this was a really good story. Like I said, I have nothing but respect for paramedics and all that, and firemen. They deal with a lot of shit. They see a lot of shit. But this was a really good story. Honestly, I can't tell what it was. I can't say if it was a demon, angel, spirit, ghost, you know, but that was really weird. It's usually the other way around in these type of cases of, oh, there's something there helping me, pointing this out to me, guiding me almost, you know, like puppeting me. It's kind of fucked up that you had to go up against that. I'm really sorry that they went up against that, you know, but they went above and beyond, man. Nobody died and there was limbs and shit falling off of people. That's really impressive. Well, that's the video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Like I said in the beginning, if you have any ghost stories of yourself, please drop them in the comments below. I want to start adding some viewer stories to these stories, and hopefully if I get enough, I can compile them all into one video and it just be nothing but viewer stories, which would be great. So yeah, I'll see you in the next one.